everyone is doing well. And there she is. Hey.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. You're looking very well.
Oh, the sun is out. We have to be good, don't
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. That is true. So you when we were last speaking, that you said you didn't have to shut down, did you, through the whole quarantine thing?
I had to shut down the first the first lockdown because nobody really knew what was happening. But then after that, so after the 18th of July, I was able to remain open because I'm one of the CNHC aromatherapy registrants, and they were allowed to stay open. So anybody that was in pain or whose quality of life was affected by not coming to see me was still allowed to come and see me.
Okay, well that's good. I kind of jumped ahead a bit in our chat there, but I just thought, yeah, Inge's been. I remember you said that you were able to practice a little bit through that time,
yeah.
but anyway, I thought it's great to have you chatting with me all the way from Yorkshire.
Thank you.
I'm truly international.
I know it's mad.
So, Inge, I start off all these chats just quite nice and easy. If you could tell us all how you actually got into aromatherapy and you know, what's your aroma journey, so to speak.
Right. Well, my aroma journey started about 22 years ago. We had just moved to the UK with two very young children, and I was going to be a stay-at-home mum, supporting my then husband in his career, which I did try really hard for about 6 months, cooking chicken in 350 different ways and cleaning the house from top to bottom. But what really got me into it was my kids would come home with sniffles and colds and runny noses and nits and, you know, all these bits and bobs at school. And I was forever running to the doctors, and I'm thinking, surely there must be something that I can do as a mum without having to go to the doctors, without putting them on antibiotics and all this kind of thing. And my daughter in particular had a problem with glue ear. So she had grommets put in, that didn't work, and it was so painful for her. And it was one of the mums of school that actually mentioned, why don't you try essential oils? And I had never heard of essential oils. So I went and bought the Fragrant Pharmacy from Valerie Ann Weirwood and basically started experimenting on my family members. And that's where it started. And it worked. And I thought, this is great, you know. And my daughter wasn't in pain anymore with her ear. And she was only little, and she could feel when something was about to start, and she would point at the oil and ask me to put some on her ear because it would take the pain away. It would be the only thing that would take the pain away. She had 30% hearing loss on each of her ears because of the scarring on her eardrum. And I used essential oils. And after a year, she got tested again, and there was no more scarring, and she had perfect hearing. So I was sold. So I then did an evening course because I had time on my hands, just in a local college, learning how to make skincare products and, you know, a little bit more about their origin and things like that. And I got bitten by the bug. And that's when I decided to do a full-on course with the Revival School of Aromatherapy, Vivian Hinks at the time. Okay. And 18 months later, I was a qualified aromatherapist, and that's where the journey started.
Wow, that's amazing. And from there, did you go straight into practice, or were you still balancing being? If I say this with love and respect, you know, cooking the chickens and doing all the domestic stuff, or did you kind of go, right, my turn, I'm out the door, kind of thing? I'm working, and were you able to balance?
It was a nice balance because obviously with us moving to the UK, I had no family around to look after the children. So while the children were at school, I would do my case studies, and we had to do about 50 case studies at the time. And I would see them between 9 and 3 when the kids were at school, and I could still entertain my husband's business relations. I could still do the housework and be there for the children. So it was then when those 50 case studies then decided that they would speak to other people. And all of a sudden I had like 250 people wanting to see me. And I thought, right, I better make a business out of this. So it kind of just organically happened. I'd never intended it to happen. And obviously I had the financial freedom of my husband working and providing for the family. So there was no pressure on me to provide. So everything I earned by doing this, I would put back into the business in form of training, and it just grew and grew and grew. And here we are, 20 odd years later, 3,000 clients on my database, and still loving it.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. You know, I love hearing how people got into aromatherapy. I think it's always fascinating because we all come from different journeys and different things along the way. So when did you set up working from home, or did you go like rent a room at a clinic, that kind of thing, or did you just start having a little shed out the back, if I use that expression loosely? You know what I mean? How did you first, right, I'm doing this from home kind of thing?
Yeah, at first it was the guest room was converted, the guest bed was chucked out, and a couch was put in, and then that went to, well, because people had to then walk through my living room to get to the treatment room, and then I thought, oh, maybe it's better if I go somewhere else. So then I tried renting a room at the back of a hairdresser's, but that wasn't really working either. So then I went back home, and I kind of stayed into a home practice and a home clinic, and it just grew. You know, at the moment, the house I've bought 7 years ago, it's got an entrance in the middle of the house, and on the left side of the house is my private, and on the right side of the house is my practice. So people come in the hallway, and then they go into the office stroke waiting room, and then at the back of that is my treatment room, and behind there is a toilet and a garden and everything. So yeah, at the moment it's a home practice, but I dabbled, I tried different things and just saw what worked for me.
Okay, yeah, no, that sounds good. I think if you've got the setup and the space to have a home business, I think that's brilliant, because then, of course, it gets rid of a lot of the hassle of renting with other people, and it's your own space, and you don't have to worry about splitting rent or the bills or insurances and things. And also, you don't have far to travel, especially with a family. So they're just right around them as well. So that's killing two birds with one stone. Not killing, but not birds with one stone, I should say.
Yeah. Definitely, because I think when my children were a little bit older and they could be in the house with me even while I was working, even if they had a day off sick, I was always around. I was there for them when they came home from school. I was there. So I was, in a way, a stay-at-home working mum. So we had the best of both worlds, we felt. And it worked for everybody. So that did really well. I did initially also go to some people's homes. It's been sometimes a bit challenging because you don't know what environment you're going into. You have to drag your massage couch out. Sometimes there isn't always a space, or animals or screaming children around. So for me, this home practice clinic based was the best option.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. We've got a question from Feel Your Flow UK saying home practice is great, but the rules this year meant it's been unworkable. I can imagine this year it's messed it up for clinics and all sorts of different businesses. So I can understand it being terrible this year. The clinic I used to work down, they're gone. They're no longer.
Really?
Yeah. They're closed during the first lockdown a year ago, around about a year ago now. But it seems like it anyway. I understand that. So it's great that, and also having a home base means that your clients know where you are, and you can just keep growing and growing from there.
Yeah, and it's lovely because people say as soon as they walk through the front door, because it's a change of environment as well, and as soon as they walk through the front door, relaxation starts, their bodies know what's going to happen, and they're ready for their treatment. So especially with the year we've had, for the people that I have been able to see, it's been a lifesaver. Some people were so isolated and so lonely that a lot of people said that was the only touch or contact they had with anybody. And yes, we were in full PPE and the door was open and all that, but people would say, well, if I close my eyes, it still just feels like before. So it was, just make the most of it, don't you? Just have to go with what you got, with what you have at that moment in time.
Yeah, exactly. And not to digress, Inge, but you're still with your training. Was that in Yorkshire at the school? Was it close by?
Training for aromatherapy was in Rochdale, and then I've kind of taken that to travel the world, used it as an excuse to travel the world, because obviously through my case studies I came across things that I wanted to know more about. So one of the things I came across quite a bit was breast cancers, and I didn't feel I had enough knowledge about how to help these people, properly. So I then did a Dr. Fodder course, the first levels in the UK, and then I went to Australia and I went to Canada to do my specialisation there. And then from there, it just, I did sports injuries, I did all sorts of things, but I basically just used it as an excuse to travel the world. I did, one of the things I did was a course in Thai medicine, traditional medicine, and I also did that in the UK. And as I was doing the course, I thought, this is really good, but there's something missing, and I could not put my finger on what it was. So I researched it, and I got in touch with the medical school in Wat Po in Bangkok, and they took me on as an international student, and I went to train there, and it blew my mind, because there is a whole history, the respect to the forefathers, and anything traditional. So it's then, that was back in 2003, that I promised myself, whatever technique I got interested in or got presented by the universe, as it happens when you're working, I would go to the country of origin, and that's exactly what I've been doing.
Oh, amazing. That's fantastic. It's a great way to combine different patterns of aromatherapy and other holistic therapies with travel, kind of all together.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant. So what other therapies do you practice as well? I know we've spoken about Reiki between you and me, but what else do you incorporate, and do you incorporate them in your aromatherapy, like using Reiki with aromatherapy, or no, you keep Reiki separate? Tell us a bit about that.
So what I have done, I've gathered what I call a big toolbox over the years, because as you work, you get presented with all sorts of things. So initially, I got presented with quite a few sports injuries, so I then did a sports injury course. Then I did the manual lymphatic drainage and combined decongestive therapy. I did Reiki. Initially, I thought it was quite airy-fairy, and I thought, what's all this about? And then obviously, the more you work with people and the more you work with energies, you think, oh, there is something else going on here that I need to know more about. And again, I was blown away. So I did my Reiki master teacher. I also did craniosacral therapy. And the way I work is, and I even did past life regressions, because I had one lady who spontaneously, during an aromatherapy massage, went into a past life experience, and I thought, how do I deal with this? So I did a past life regression course to help people when they have an experience like that, and that was a smell that obviously triggered some memory in her that took her to one of her past lives, and I thought, wow. And so I combine all these. So the way I work is I tell people that I won't necessarily stick to one thing. So, and they all agree with me before they come in, that I use whatever technique I feel would give that body the best potential to heal, to develop, to, grow. And so I can dip in and out of things, but nearly always essential oils are involved in some way or another.
Okay. Yeah. I have to ask, what was the oil? Do you remember that provoked that out of body or reaction?
I think it was lavender, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was lavender. She presented with a really painful shoulder, and we had been working on pain and things like that, and as I got to her feet, she shared with me that she was hanging in a well with that arm holding onto the well, and with a chain and ball on her ankle that had jarred her shoulder. So we then took her through that whole thing, and the issue resolved. That was it. It was just mind-blowing. body and mind, it's a combination. What I've learned over the years is that I started out really clinical and therapeutic, and knowing if I press that there, this happens to the body, or if I use that oil, it has these properties. And as I've gone on, and now 20 odd years on, it's the subtle energies, and less is sometimes more, and it's body, mind, spirit, soul connection that is just so important, and it shows in nearly all the treatments that I do. People come with a physical symptom, but such a massive majority of the time there is an underlying emotional cause, or there is some trauma somewhere. And so I did a counselling course to help with that. So there is so many aspects of this. It's just, I absolutely love it.
Wow, well, that's a very holistic approach. Encompassing so many different aspects of looking at your treatments, which is wonderful that you're open to those of learning those experiences, and often as I said, they'll trigger by your clients' response. So you're working in reaction to your clients, which is
right.
which is really wonderful.
You treat what's on the table, and that can sometimes change from one time to another. And it depends on, people respond to different things. It depends on their life experiences and what they've been through. So sometimes they might respond much better to one therapy than to another. So it's a bit like I said, I just have a big toolbox, and we try one thing and we see the response of the body, or I feel the response of the body. And people sometimes go to me to say, I didn't even tell you I was hurting there. How did you know? And it's because you've got all that feel in your fingers, and you can read a body. I always say bodies are like open books to me. They don't have to. We obviously go through the medical history, but they often don't have to tell me, or they don't always share everything with me. And you will pick it up anyway, because it's what you've been trained to do all these years. And that's the beauty of it. And I love the fact that my clients trust me enough to give me the freedom to do that. That is just, I feel very, very special and very honoured that they are allowing me to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Allowed to go on that allowing them access into a journey that they don't know where it's going to go.
Absolutely.
Wow. How many treatments would you do a day? Do you set yourself a limit on how many treatments you do, because of physically, it's all, we all know it's very tough and very tiring work emotionally and physically. Do you set yourself up, only do 3 or 4, or max out at 6?
Yeah, at the moment I'm limiting myself to a maximum of 6 or 7 a day.
Wow.
And I work long days because I still have half hours between my treatments.
Okay.
Just to keep everybody safe. But I used to do a lot more than that. But obviously, I'm now a middle-aged woman, well into my middle-aged woman, and I can feel my joints going, come on, listen to me, So I have taken a step back. And so I would, that would be I have limited myself. Now, the one thing I struggled with most is saying no to people, because if you can make a little bit of difference in somebody's life, and they're in agony and they're in physical or emotional pain, that's what I've struggled with the hardest, is saying no to people. But yeah, you have to look after you as well, obviously, and that's something I've learned over the years. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's hugely important. And sometimes as therapists, that we overlook our own needs. So do you go get a treatment yourself every so often?
I have friends that do treatments for me, and that works well. But very often I treat myself, because I know my body really well, and I tune in, and I practice some meditation and yoga and things like that, and you get to know things, and so very often I can pick up on something before it actually is an issue. But obviously, if I get the chance, and that's one of the things why I love going on courses, because you get that much treatment from other people. So it's I continually go on courses, because then you get lots of treatments.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually, I remember that now. Yeah, you actually do. It's a good excuse to get to be a test pilot, to be guinea pig on these courses. So
definitely.
Essential oil wise, what are some of your favourites? Have you set like, I've got a set amount that I just stick with and I only use that, or do you kind of, yes, I'll do all, research and find other ones. So what are your your attitude to blending and experimenting with oils?
It's a hard question because I see, from a therapeutic point of view, I seem to very often go to traditional ones like French lavender and Roman chamomile. They are one of my favorites from a therapeutic point of view. But I have a big collection of essential oils. I've got about 60 odd oils. And interestingly, each of them, if I get interested in an oil, I will research it and I will pick up the smell and the scent, and it will be there. And interestingly, I think because of through the years, our sense of smell develops, and we obviously pick up on a scent when clients come in. I will find myself then going for a certain oil I might not have used for weeks, and I'm thinking, interesting, why have I gone for that oil? And then I will research it again afterwards, and I think, that client was mentioning this, so that's why I got attracted to that oil. So it has become quite an intuitive process now. So I have my arsenal of oils there, and I've got my trusted, say, 10 oils that I would, easily use to blend. But then every so often, something will take me to a very specific oil for a very specific client, and then I will go with that as well. I've learned to trust my gut and my sense of smell, and I think Kurt Schnabel has mentioned something about that in one of his books, that we do as aromatherapists and women especially, apparently as well, we get to develop that sense of smell and the need for certain essential oils. So I go quite intuitively now. I think after 20 years, I can start to trust my gut. I know the big red flags. I know the contraindications, and then I just let happen what happens.
Yeah. You go on that kind of autopilot of using your experience, and you just know what blends with what and what teaches. Yes. So, some of your favourites that you cannot live without, for your own personal, your own what you like yourself, what you would sit down with and put in a diffuser or just, treat yourself to.
Depends on the time. Oh, my battery is low. Depends on the time of the year, but what I have in my bathroom is tea tree oil. Anything that just appears on my face out of nowhere the next morning gets doused in tea tree oil and then it disappears. I've had, little warts or something like that coming on the top of my lip, and that will go. So chamomile, lavender, those are the ones that I really go to for lots of things. Fragonia is one of my favourites. It's a very subtle smell. It's a very balanced oil. Everything is in the right quantities. It's so versatile. It's not too strong. Uplifting ones, I would use Mei Chang. That's really nice oil to use. Things like that.
Okay.
So I think, on the top of it, for scent, it would be Fragonia. For therapeutic use, it would be lavender, tea tree, and Roman chamomile, I suppose. Eucalyptus, radiata, I like that one as well. There is so many, isn't there?
Yeah, once you start, it's just, that one is, or that one is. I understand.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing, I've had to use tea tree a lot. I'm not sure if you've had it. Wearing masks. I've got no problem wearing masks, so that's not a debate. But I've found, because I've had to wear them for quite a long time now here, of course, in China, and it's pretty, not strict, but everyone still wears them. I get my pimples still just like, I take off the next morning I've got whiteheads kind of just.
Yeah.
So, I know what you mean. It's like I've got tea tree just sitting right here actually. It's a bang, 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 bang. That was amazing, but I never wear a mask, but like if I'm outside for a good couple of hours, and it's really hot now, the weather's really, I'm like a teenager again.
Definitely masks are part of that, and that's you get them, and I just cotton wool bud. I know my skin is okay to use it neat, and I just dab it on the actual spot, and it literally goes overnight. It's fantastic. I could not do without my tea tree oil in the bathroom. That's just part of everyday life.
Yeah, totally. It's growing up in Australia. That was, if anyone was to ask me what's the first oil I was introduced to, well, I think every Aussie's mum had that in their medicine cabinet, kind of thing. It was just what you had around in that way, kind of like lavenderism. Maybe I suppose in the UK, it's that kind of same thing. Yeah. But is there any you don't like?
Yes. I think is it Angelica that smells like sweaty socks? I have, and spikenard. I'm not too keen on that either. I have used it therapeutically, but the smell, or maybe I haven't had a very good batch of oils. But for some reason, no. But most of them I really like, or I've learned to like, because I think Roman chamomile is an acquired taste as well. Initially, I might not have been too fond of it, but now I absolutely love it. And so a bit too heady, like ylang ylang is lovely, blended, but on its own it can be quite heady and heavy. Yeah,
I know. Sweaty socks. Was that valerian?
Yeah. Oh, it might have been valerian, actually. Yes, it might have been valerian. Yeah.
That or a sweaty sock kind of analogy.
Yeah, that's a bit. And obviously that's connected to my limbic system and my memory. So maybe that's why I don't like it. I don't know. I won't let it influence my therapeutic properties. I will still use it if it benefits the client, but for my own personal use, I would not put it in a diffuser and sit in it in the room. Definitely wouldn't. No.
I used valerian once. I may have told you this before, but I used it in treatment once at the clinic where I was down on the Isle of Wight, and it upset the owner's husband because the whole place stunk. I used it at full strength on a client that had Parkinson's. 12 drops in 25 mils, kind of just valerian, and because she didn't have a sense of smell because of the Parkinson's, so I was just gutted for her, and she fell asleep and she was really relaxed. So I walk out and he's going, "What?" He was going mental. Said, "You don't use that in here." And admittedly, it was the smell was embedded into the room for a good 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
So kind of like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do that one. So yeah. You know what I mean? Sometimes you think you're fine, especially when we're working, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know, the other people that kind of just walk into it and boom, if you don't like it.
Yeah.
People aren't going to come in here now. I was like, oh, okay. It was lovely about it, but yeah, I kind of avoid it. So I do know what you mean once you've got a negative.
Yeah. But. And then the flip side of that is when people come in here in my treatment room, they say, "That smell, that's what I want, this smell." But obviously that's a combination of 60 oils and the things I've used before and after. And I said, I'm really sorry, but I cannot fabricate you this smell, because it's like you say, it's infusing everything. And a good way to I've been to the supermarket once and people go, "I could smell you were in here." Because obviously infused in me as well, and people say, "I knew you were in here because I could smell you," and I think, oh my goodness, I hope that's a good thing. But yeah, it does get infused in absolutely everything.
Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? We don't realise that, and that's why, having no hair, I do know the benefits of garlic essential oil, how apparently it's really good for hair growth, but I ain't that on my, no way. I've got to make...
There is a line.
Yeah, I was talking about that at the weekend at the Aromatherapy Expo. I'm just, no. I'm just not going to... I'd rather just have friends and be bald than have no friends and have hair. So I get it. I know what you mean.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Inge. Well, I just want to thank you for your time. It's been lovely chatting. Gone really quick, and I know that we could chat for hours, but I'm going to post this onto the IFPA website so that people will be able to tune in and watch whenever as well. So is it okay if I leave your contact details in the section? Okay.
Absolutely. And people want to ask me anything, they can just send me a message and I will reply to them. Absolutely fine.
Thanks, Lassa Aromatherapy. Thanks to everyone for joining. I'll be back again next week with another chat lined up. So, Inge, we will be in touch as well. So
Thank you for inviting me. It was lovely to see you again. Take care.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.